Now vectors are again linear. It is a linear data structure, and as I said in the arrays, that it is stored in contiguous memory allocation. That is, if an element is present at say location 1000, and then the next element will be present at 1004, next will be present at 1008. So that is what is meant by contiguous memory allocation. Now vectors are dynamic arrays. By dynamic arrays, what I mean is that at runtime, if at all there exists a vector element
Param, you are on mute.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, Param.
Where did you lose me? Where did you lose me?
Dynamic arrays.
Okay, sorry, my headphone just got switched off on its own. So sorry guys for that delay. Yeah, so talking about the dynamic arrays, a vector is one of the dynamic array. Now by dynamic array, what I mean is that it removes the downfall of arrays that are not dynamic. Like what happens is, consider a program where you don't know that what would be getting achieved, how many elements will be getting achieved in the result. Say if you if someone asks you to calculate if to store all the prime numbers present between 1 and 1000, so and you want to store them in an array, you won't know how much memory space to reserve to that particular array. And reserving 1000 memory locations just because you want to compute prime numbers from 1 to 1000 is foolish, because that would be using more memory than required. So in this case, vectors come into the picture because they are dynamic arrays. Now what they will help you do is that when as and when we need to add an element into the array, it will allocate a memory to that array, and your code will function well. So that is how we remove the heavy overload operations that are present with arrays, that is shifting of every previous element in order to fit in the new element, or deleting an element in order to fit in a new element. So yeah, that is how we remove the heavy overload operations. And there are iterators associated with vectors that help you achieve traversal of arrays of vectors very fast. So yeah, these were the features of vectors. Now moving on forward, we'll be talking about the advantages that are present with arrays. So the first advantage, as I said, mentioned, was the dynamic memory allocation. That is, during runtime of your code, your array will, your vector will get a memory allocated to itself, and will never stop the code just because it does not have that much memory, which will happen in the case of arrays. So yeah, that was the one advantage. Now next advantage is deletion at end happens in constant time. By constant time, I mean big O of one time, that is O of one. That is the constant time notation for deletion. That is, if you want to delete the last element of an of a vector, you can do it in constant time. You need not, you know, do anything else, and that is something very good. And reserved space is the major advantage associated with a vector. Say for example, whenever you declare a vector, depending upon your compiler and your system, it will allocate a particular amount of memory beforehand to it. Now say if I initialize a vector named v1, then it will allocate a memory of say 50 bytes in beforehand to it. Now depending upon your code, if at all you were to go beyond the 50 bytes of memory, and you need a 51th memory slot, then you need not tell your code explicitly that to allocate memory to it. That will be handled using vectors alone. So yeah, when at the position when you want to give in the 51th memory slot, what it will do is it will not just give one memory slot to it. It will again expand via one time or 1.5 times. Say for example, if at this point of time your vector has 50 memory slots associated with it, and you need additional memory. So your vector won't go ahead and allocate just one memory slot. Now your memory will be 100 bytes. So again and again, you won't will have to keep on allocating memory at every iteration or every element getting added to the vector. So it will always have some reserved space present with it, and every time it will keep on adding 50 bytes as such. It depends. 50 is just a rough figure. It depends upon your compiler and system. So that is one advantage of vectors, and it can store multiple objects, multiple type of objects. And the last advantage that is associated is that it has a lot of built-in methods and operations associated with it. We'll be talking about them soon. Now, the disadvantage is that there will be high memory consumption at scenarios when, as I said, that if you need just one extra memory slot, it will still present to you a 100 byte vector. So that is when there is a trade-off between achieving efficiency and achieving memory consumption efficiency. So that's just one downfall of the vector data structure. And insert and delete operations in the middle of an array will be occurring in linear time. So that is another downfall of the vector data structure. Now moving on forward, these are the I will be talking about the operations that are associated with the array. Now with the vector. Now as and when with arrays, with vectors also we need to do declaration and initialization. So vectors, I have used the language C++ here. So using this header files for input output stream, and then this is the built-in class named vector that is present in C++. So what I achieve in the in this code is that I have initialized a vector. I have just declared a vector of the type int with the variable named v1. Now, next, what I'm doing here in this for loop is that I have initialized a for loop variable I and it will run the loops for 10 times. And inside every loop, it will push back. Push back means pushing at the back. Pushing from the back means if your vector is present, say, if in your vector there are already 3 elements present, 1, 2, 3, and pushback of 4 will push back the element 4 from the behind. So now your vector will be 1, 2, 3, 4. That is exactly what pushback does. So in this for loop, I have just pushed back 10 integer elements. Now since the for loop variable starts from 0, I have pushed back I plus 1. So 0 will push back 1, 1 will push back 2, 2 will push back 3, and so on. So this is just the logic to insert elements into the array. Now in C++, if you want to give an output, you use the cout keyword, and the vector looks like this. So in this particular for loop, I have used the auto keyword. The auto keyword specifies that the type of the variable will be taken from its initializer. So I need not explicitly type in here that the I will be of integer data type if it is not, and if it is being used of integer data types or of float. So what will the auto keyword will do, that whatever will be the value here, it will auto declare I with that particular data type. So v1.begin will are the begin and end are the built-in methods associated with vectors. That so v1.begin will give us a reference to the first element present in the vector. v1.end will give us the reference to the last element present in the vector. So that is what it is. And here we output the element present at that particular location using the star operator. So v1.begin, at the location v1.begin, we had the first element that was 1, and so on. It went on to print 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10, and it stopped at v1.end. So v1.end is not as I said, it is not the last element. It is the arbitrary position present after the last element. So v1.end will give you that particular arbitrary position. So when your code, when your I variable will come at v1 dot end, that is at the arbitrary element present after the actual last element, it will stop the loop and will come out of the loop. So that is what declaration and initialization with vectors was all about. Now we have size related operations. As I said, vectors have a lot of operations and methods associated with it. So here I have declared a vector of the variable named v1. This is the same code to insert the 10 elements into the vector. Now, in these three output statements, cout, I am using the v1.maxSize method, v1.capacity, and v1.size. So what will v1.maxSize, that is vector 1 of max size, will do is that it will show the maximum number of elements that can be held by the container. So right now the maximum capacity is this much. So now the output is given this much because that is the amount of space that is present on my system right now. So if at all I run a code where I have to fill in the entire space of my system with just with just vector elements of the integer data type, then these many integer elements that I will be able to store. This is what maximum size helps us to tell. Now the next will be memory allocated to the stored elements, that is v1.capacity. It will tell us the number of elements that can be stored currently. So as I said, that your compiler and your system will give an arbitrary amount of memory space to a vector when you declare it. So here I have declared the vector v1 and I have pushed 10 elements inside it. But the memory allotted to store the elements inside it right now is 16. So remember I said that if there are 50 and you need to add one more, then it will automatically give you 100 memory slots. So here my system has given me 16 memory slots already in order to store the future coming elements. So that is what v1.capacity gives us. Now then next is v1.size. It will return the size of the vector at the current point of time. So if at all I were to place this particular section of code before I were to insert any elements inside the vector, then it would have given me the size 0. But now I have presented it here. So I have inserted 10 elements. So it gives me the size at this particular instant, which is 10. Next, in this particular code, we are just giving output of the array vector elements, and then here using v1.resize and giving the parameter 5, what we have done is we have resized the container so that it contains n elements. Here n is 5, so we have resized the vector v1 to contain just 5 elements in this case. And after that, if I run the for loop to present before you the vector elements, then there are just 5 vector elements present inside it. And as I said, the v1.size method will give you the size at that current instant of time in the code. So now the size is 5 after I have resized the vector to bring down to 5 vector elements. So moving on forward, this will be the code for accessing the vector elements. I have inserted 10 vector elements as always. Then I have given the output of the 10 elements. Now in this section v1 square parenthesis 7, what I am doing is I am accessing the 8th element present in the array, and this is the same thing that happens in an array, and here I am using it for vectors. Now to get the element at position 3, I can use the method .at and pass the parameter 3 to it. So that is that in that way it will give me the element at located at position 3. Using the .front and .back methods, it will give me the elements present at the front and back of the vector. So yeah, that is what it is. And in order to get the reference to the first element of the vector, we use the method .data, and this is the integer pointer that points to the integer present at the first location of the vector v1, and then I output it here. So the first element is given, which will be 1 in this case. So, and there are many more methods associated with the vector data type in the C++. So for example, begin and end I had talked about. Begin and end will give the reverse iterators, and so on and so forth. You can see all about this on the platform, on various online platforms. We have talked about this in our resources as well. We have given out the links for this. And now the applications of vectors is that everything that an array does, but it will be doing it in a better way, because you need not allocate memory, you need not slow down your code just for allocating memory at runtime. And that is what I meant by saying that it does everything that an array does, but better. Now, that would be the end of my part. The next part would be explained to you by Umang Thadani.